Hey everyone, so about 2 weeks ago, I made two videos and how ChatGPT had some issues with the history of the conversations being down, and there were some alleged incidents where supposedly some of the personal data from users were being shown to other subscribers. And I actually waited a few days and I didn't see any updates or notices. I'm sure they were trying to figure out what was going on before they let anybody know, even though I think making some sort of announcement of what they were looking for should have been shared with users, even if they didn't know exactly what was going on at the time. So let me just show you guys the update. And I'm really shocked and surprised that there are not as many people talking about this issue, because this is extremely important. So the first place I like to look for information on ChatGPT is always by going to status.openai.com, and this is when the occurrence of the history of the conversations, this is when it happened. So as you guys can see here, the DALL-E update has a read details page, but the ChatGPT incident does not. All right, so that was the first thing, that if you were only checking this page, you would kind of be left to wonder what's going on. All right, and I went through all the different updates and there was nothing. So sometimes when you're looking for updates, you have to check a few different places. The next place that I like to find information is by going to the OpenAI website. Then you click on company and then you're going to click on blog. And then that's going to bring you to this page and you can see all of the different updates that they have. And the very last article that they wrote is the March 20 incident, and this was written on March 24th. So it took them 4 days to really let people know what is going on with their system. And if you're a paying customer, number one, from a business perspective, I think a lot of users were upset, because if you're paying for something, you want to know where your work is. Where is your research? When can you expect the work that you were developing to be back online? Because it's not just about having the site back up so that you can search new things. The benefit of the history is continuity, being able to maintain each thread, because with ChatGPT versus GPT-4, one of the main differences is memory recall, right? So if you don't have GPT-4, which does have an improved level of memory recall, it is a problem to start a new thread or to lose your work, because right now there's not a easy way to just download it. So finally, 4 days after the incident, right, we don't have to say alleged anymore, because they did confirm it, that there were some issues with data being shared. And the third place that you can find that information about OpenAI is by following them on Twitter. And here you can see that also on the 24th, they did make an update letting individuals know that there was a bug in their software, and letting users know that there was an issue and what they were doing about it. They did not link to the article, which has more information. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. And the situation is actually worse than what I thought it was. Most people who discuss the titles of their conversations being shared, but here it lets us know that the bug in their system actually let people see their payment information partially. So they said for about 1.2% of the ChatGPT Plus subscribers. And it was like, so in this case, if you're a paying customer, you were worse off, because now your information was shared with others. So on top of your conversation titles being shared with others, partially, right? Not everyone. It was a small percentage. It shows right here, let me highlight it. 3 hours before we took ChatGPT offline on Monday, it was possible for some users to see another active user's first and last name, email address, payment address, and the last 4 digits only, in parentheses, of a credit card number, and the expiration date. The full numbers were not exposed. All right. That's a lot of information. In the wrong hands, they pretty much have everything that they need. That is unacceptable. This is atrocious. I'm speechless, to be honest, that more people don't realize how bad this actually is. Okay, let's keep going. So they seem to have fixed the issue. They contacted the individuals that were affected by their data being shared with other users. We don't know the specific number of it. So I haven't seen the specific data as far as how many users they have. I've read a few places that they have as much as 100 million users. If only 1% of that number were the ChatGPT Plus subscribers, that would mean that means that 1 million people were affected. That is a lot. Once we put the numbers into perspective, that's a huge number of individuals, and that's just 1%. It looks like it was actually 1.2% of the ChatGPT Plus subscribers. So we have to understand how many people were actually affected by this information and things like their email being shared. That's a big deal. And then let me just go through a bit more of the technical data here. You guys can kind of pause this and see for yourself as far as the explanation that they gave and all the different steps that they took. Right here we can see that they just basically talk about the extensive testing in order to fix this. But what happens to the 1.2 million people whose data may have been shared with the wrong people who could have used their information for unsavory purposes? Well, like I said in my video, I would give you guys this case study to ponder about. Now that we were able to read the direct information from OpenAI and ChatGPT as far as what really occurred with the missing conversations and the personal information being shared, even if it's just to a small number of users, 1.2 million people being affected is still a big deal. And that is a small scale, because if we look at this chart that I made about 2 weeks ago, I discussed, and you guys can watch this video, it's called ChatGPT Missing Conversation. So I just want you guys to take this chart as a case study, just to ponder about what would happen. Well, if you take a piece of software that has the potential to be used with, for example, let's say Microsoft Office, that is used at every single part of different corporations and businesses, and you have another bug, right, where the information of now millions of people can be put at risk. That is a big deal. And I think many people are not considering the trickle down effect of what happens when we are not paying attention to the back end of using software, of connecting every single API or connecting every single tool together, and the cause and effect of those actions. So I just want you guys to of course, get excited about AI, but you have to understand what really happens on the back end of companies so that you can make sure to protect yourself, so that you can check your emails for updates, for any type of news that are related to the tools that you're using, especially when in the future there could be hundreds of different tools that we have to use in order to just stay compliant with the different businesses that we have in our lives. So I think this is an interesting lesson that we must learn. So I just want to remind everybody that yes, these AI tools are amazing, but they're not perfect. There are still people behind the software who have to make sure that everything functions accordingly. And they are no different in some regards as far as any other tool, as far as protecting our privacy and making sure our information is safe and that we don't share too much, especially when everything starts to become even more interconnected than it already is. So just a little update as far as what happened, and just be vigilant as far as paying attention on the back end, checking the status updates of all the software that you're using, and just be aware. All right, guys, have a great day.